teniendo una rueda de prensa desde la Casa Blanca para hablar el tema de Venezuela y todo lo que se ha logrado hasta el momento. Recordemos que el 3 de enero fue capturado Nicolás Maduro y por lo tanto se dio a conocer a todos los medios de comunicación cómo fue el tema de la operación. Ahora le está hablando de lo que se ha logrado hasta ahora.
Location. You were the only one that was there for all that. I used to call you and say, what the hell is going on with Venezuela? He stuck it out. I don't know if you made money or not, but you stuck it out. I got to give you a lot of credit for that. Mark Nelson, thank you very much. Exxon CEO Darren Woods. Darren, thank you very much. How's Exxon doing? Okay. They'll do a lot better now, won't they? Huh? Exxon's been amazing. It's been an amazing company. And ConocoPhillips CEO Ryan Lance, thank you very much. So you guys could say something, and then we'll take some questions from the press. And if anybody else would like to speak, we'll have you speak. We have all the time in the world. This is a big subject. This is massive wealth, and more importantly than massive wealth, it leads to lower taxes and a lot of jobs for Americans and for Venezuelans, but for Americans in this case. And I just, again, appreciate you all being here. And I'd like to ask JD to say a few words, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. And thanks to everybody for being here. You know, as a Marine Corps veteran for my entire lifetime, presidents, let's be honest, they were Democrats and Republicans, would send the American military to far-off places. They would get us involved in these endless quagmires. They would lose hundreds or thousands of American lives. And the American people would get nothing out of these misadventures. And now you have an American president who's empowered the American military to stop the flow of drugs into our country and to ensure that we, as opposed to our adversaries, control one of the great energy reserves that exist anywhere in the entire world. And he did it without losing a single American life in the process. It was an amazing operation. It's going to make our country richer. It's going to make our country more powerful. It's going to make our country safer. And it's going to lead to the decline, the further decline of drug overdose deaths in the United States of America. An amazing thing, and I'm happy to be here to talk about how we can make it an even bigger and better operation.
Algo que es muy importante que sepan es que en estos momentos él está reunido con todos los presidentes de las acciones petroleras, o más bien de las empresas petroleras a nivel de los Estados Unidos. Están ahí reunidos con él en la Casa Blanca. Ahora mismo está hablando el secretario de departamento, Marco Rubio. Vamos a escucharlo.
Drug gang members flooded or openly cooperated with drug gangs, and by the way, stole the wealth of that country to fund a repressive regime and also benefit adversaries such as Iran. All of that is now changing. As part of this process, the first phase, of course, is the phase we're in now, which is the stabilization phase. We do not want to see destabilization in the country. We're working very cooperatively with the interim authorities there to provide a market for the sale of the wealth of Venezuela in such a way that benefits the people, both of the United States, but also the people of Venezuela. And as a reminder to everyone, the president announced this just 2 days ago, every penny, everything they buy with the money that they're making from the oil now, Mr. President, will be bought from America. And that includes everything from equipment for the oil industry to food to medicines and everything in between. The second will be a phase of recovery, and then some of these phases will overlap, and that is to have a normal economy again where the money goes to the benefit of people, not the benefit of our adversaries or the benefit of elements in that country and around the world that are against our interests. At the same time as a process of reconciliation has to happen internally among the different sectors of society and politics and the like. And finally, the third phase, which is the most important of the three, is when the country fully transitions into a normal country that we have strong economic and diplomatic and relations with, that is friendly towards the United States, that's not a foothold for our adversaries, that serves our interests, but also the interests of the people. It'll be a country that is wealthy, a country that is prosperous for the people, not for a handful of criminals, but also a country that is supportive of our interests in the region and throughout the world. And we thank you, Mr. President, and the team you've assembled that brought us to this point. A lot of work remains, important work, but this is historic.
Okay, thank you very much. Doug?
Well, Mr. President, I want to thank you for your leadership
not just as president, but as commander-in-chief, the boldness, the execution, the breathtakingly precise work that you've delivered both in Iran back in June and here has changed the field.
Están agradeciendo el liderazgo de Donald Trump, la audacia para ejecutar impresionante trabajo en Venezuela.
Russians, Iran, terror groups, all of them profiting from this criminal organization that was pretending to run the country. That makes America safer. You've secured the border, we're stopping the flow of drugs, and now with the normalization of relationships on an economic basis, it's going to mean tremendously for the prosperity of the American people. So I just want to say again, congratulations to you. And to
Dice que tenían rusos, iraníes y grupos terroristas beneficiándose en estas zonas y que esta organización criminal pretendía dirigir el país.
And on behalf of all the oil executives that are here today, Chris and I want to say thank you to all of you. It's your technology, your innovation that has put America in the place where today we are the most energy dominant country in the world. And that position is what's allowed us to take the action that we're taking with statecraft, with military action. None of that would happen if we were dependent on everybody else for energy. So you're a big part of the reason that we're able to move the way we are today, and we're grateful that you're here to be part of the solution going forward.
Thank you, Doug, and you are doing a fantastic job, and we appreciate it. Everybody appreciates it. They know who's doing well. Chris Wright?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, I think what we've seen in the last week is leadership matters and credibility matters. Venezuelan oil has been sanctioned for many years, and the oil just flew, those sanctions were not enforced. That oil just floated out, trafficked by bad actors of the world. The resources weren't gone to a central place. The corruption and decline of Venezuela has been a crisis for the people of Venezuela. And as Secretary Rubio said, massive spillover effects in the United States, in crime, in drugs, in kidnappings, and in taking a huge resource base and making it not exploited, not developed. The whole world is a poorer, less opportunity-rich place because of that. When you have materials underground, they've been underground for 1 million years. That does not make them a resource. That does not make them valuable for your country, your people, or the world. They only become a resource with technology, with capital, with rule of law, and a system of governance that encourages the harvesting of those resources to make the better world. And we see here the dramatic contrast between the United States, which may have less oil underground than Venezuela, with 20 times the production of Venezuela, 20 times the impact of human betterment, massively better quality of living here in the United States. That was at risk under the last administration. We've seen a lot of attacks on the energy that makes the world go round. President Trump's election has removed those risks, has embraced reality about how the world is energized, and we are record production of oil in the United States, record production in natural gas in the United States. We've seen a meaningful decline in gasoline prices, diesel prices, travel prices because of jet fuel.
Bendiciones a los que se conectan a esta hora. God bless you, God bless you. Where are you doing, Pedro? God bless you a todos los que se conectan. Nice to meet you. Estamos viendo la rueda de prensa en vivo y en directo que está realizando el presidente Donald Trump con todo el equipo petrolero desde la Casa Blanca.
To stop the flow of Venezuelan oil to the world immediately gave us leverage over the interim authorities in Venezuela and has allowed us to be in this position today where the actions of this government can massively improve Venezuela for the better. And the bigger impact is to massively improve the quality of life, affordability, safety, and security of the United States. Very proud to be here. And I'll turn it over to Mark Nelson, who's the vice chairman of Chevron. Chevron has been in Venezuela for over 100 years, continuously. Mike Wirth, the CEO, had a knee replacement recently. He's not here. Mark is a tremendous leader in our industry, and I'll turn it over to him.
Thank you, Secretary Wright. Again, I'll send Mike Wirth's regrets. He really wanted to be here, Mr. President.
Great guy.
On his behalf, I have 3 very quick thank yous.
and an assurance I'd like to provide you all. The first thank you, Mr. President, is to you. It's thank you for convening this gathering. It's thank you for your leadership, and thank you for continuing to keep American energy domination in the forefront. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
The second thank you actually is to the cabinet. So Secretary Rubio, Secretary Bergen, Secretary Wright, your ability and commitment to continue to engage with the parties around the table to keep the world working is greatly appreciated. So thank you for that. And the final thank you actually would go to our Venezuelan employees of Chevron. They have been working tirelessly to operate safely, protect the environment in country, and their dedication and skill will help us in this next chapter. And finally, I'll close with the assurance. For more than a century, Chevron has been a part of Venezuela's past. We are certainly committed to its present, and we very much look forward as a proud American company to help it build a better future. And so, Mr. President, thank you for your leadership.
You really suffered there. You stuck it out. A lot of people left. A lot of big companies left. Some of the people.
Saludos desde Venezuela, paz y amor por este país. Saludos, God bless you, Donald Trump. En Tenerife, después del accidente, mi sentido pésame. Espero que Maduro esté puesto en libertad. Anyway, cada quien puede pensar y expresar sus pensamientos. God bless you a todos los que se conectan.
And if China or Russia were a next door neighbor, because essentially this is not around the other parts of the world so far away where you fly in an airplane for 24 hours before you get there. This is sort of a next door neighbor if you think about it. And I told China and I told Russia, we get along with you very well, we like you very much, we don't want you there, not going to be there. And if we didn't do this, China would have been there and Russia would have been there. Maybe they both would have been there together, but they're not going to be there now. One thing I will tell them, and I will tell you, that we are open for business. China can buy all the oil they want from us there or in the United States. Russia can get all the oil they need from us, and they do like oil, even though they produce a lot of it. But China and Russia and everybody else is able to go, and we'll be open for business almost immediately. I have a feeling the $100 million will be spent $100 billion will be spent very, very rapidly by these very big, powerful, and rich companies, and I think they're going to be able to rebuild the infrastructure. And I hope it's going to be brand new as opposed to a rehab, because I know the tremendous difference between the new and the not so new in your industry. The new is much more beautiful, much better in every way, and actually much smaller. It's like everything else, gets smaller and stronger. It's a combination of smaller, better, and stronger. So I hope you're going to build all brand new stuff, rip out the old crap that's been there for so many years, and do it the right way. You're going to be there a long time. If we make a deal, you're going to be there a long time. If we don't make a deal, you won't be there at all. It's, sort of interesting. But again, China and Russia would have been there if we didn't do this. And the other thing people ask about the second wave, I don't think it's going to be necessary. We have an armada, a giant armada like nobody's
Que
ever
viva
seen.
Donald Trump, dicen
That
los
part of the world.
televidentes.
Stationed off the coast, and we are getting along so well with the people that are involved in representing Venezuela that I don't think we're going to have any. I don't think it's going to be necessary to do the second wave. We were planning on a second wave, but the first wave was so powerful and so good and so strong. And frankly, the people in the country, they did the right thing. They were smart. They did the right thing. They didn't want to go through a second wave. But we've got a tremendous number of the most powerful ships in the world right there. I don't think we're going to have to use that. I'm happy to say that. I don't think we're going to have to use that at all. If I could ask Chevron, you did a great job. I want to thank you.
Está reconociendo el trabajo de Chevron, 100 años en Venezuela, y les está dando las gracias. Ahorita habló el presidente de Chevron.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate the invitation and the opportunity, frankly, for the entire industry to show up and provide perspective. Frankly, we've been kind of unresponsive to the press regarding Venezuela. I guess today's the opportunity
Y
to
todo
address
el
the press
tema es
directly with
acerca
respect
de
to a number of questions
Venezuela
that have been
y el
asked at
petróleo.
ExxonMobil. First and foremost, obviously, is the interest that we have in Venezuela. And I think, the way I would position that, I think one of the reasons why we see many of the industry players here is we're in a depletion business for a product that is in great demand and will be in demand for many, many, many decades to come. And as a depletion business, the biggest challenge we have is finding resources. There's an opportunity in Venezuela with all the resources there. We don't have that challenge of finding, we have the challenge of developing those resources. So I think it's in the best interest of these companies and frankly society as a whole for the industry to be interested in understanding what the opportunity it represents. I'll just share a philosophy that ExxonMobil has.
A José Fermín que dice saludos desde Venezuela, paz y amor para este país. Saludos, Donald Trump.
Perspective, the investments that we make span decades and decades, so we do not go into any opportunity with a short-term mindset. There's a value proposition that we have to meet. It has to be a win-win-win proposition. Obviously, it has to be a win for the company and our shareholders to generate a return for the investments that we make. It has to be a win for the government. The resources are an important source of revenue that help support the people of the places that we do business. And it has to be a win for the people.
Le pido al presidente Donald Trump ayuda a recuperar lo que este gobierno de Maduro hizo, perder mi fábrica de harina precocida y mi siembra productiva. Por favor, nos dejas tu nombre para poder saber con quién estamos hablando y de qué se trataba la empresa, ya sabemos, pero el nombre de la compañía, por favor.
And so you can imagine to re-enter a third time would require some pretty significant changes from what we've historically seen here and what is currently the state. If we look at the legal and commercial constructs and frameworks in place today in Venezuela, today it's uninvestable. And so significant changes have to be made to those commercial frameworks, the legal system. There has to be durable investment protections, and there has to be a change to the hydrocarbon laws in the country. We're confident that with this administration and President Trump working hand in hand with the Venezuelan government, that those changes can be put in place. And with respect to the Venezuelan government, that perspective we don't have a view on. We haven't talked to the Venezuelan government, and obviously we have yet to assess the people's perspective with respect to ExxonMobil and the country. In the short term, there are things that can be done while these longer-term issues are being worked.
Morfe CA, ok. Entonces, Fernando, yo estoy segura que Dios es bueno y va a permitir que la economía en Venezuela se reactive. Y qué bueno conocer que hay empresas que quieren continuar creciendo en Venezuela luego de esta situación tan terrible que sacudió Venezuela.
Security guarantees, we are ready to put a team on the ground there. We also have a integrated set of capabilities from production to refining to trading, and I think we can give assistance to getting the Venezuelan crude to market and realizing a market price to help again with the financial situation in Venezuela. So those are my short-term perspective that I have. I'd say maybe close with a thank you, Mr. President, for the work that you've done to secure not only the national security, but the energy security of the region. And then thank you, Secretary Rubio, Secretary Wright, Secretary Burgum, for your leadership in this matter. Thank you.
How long would it take you, Darren, as Exxon if we make a deal, how long would it take you to get in?
¿Cuánto tiempo pasó todo esto en Venezuela? Estado Sucre, Venezuela, municipio Arismendi. Ahí fue donde te ocurrió la situación.
That's what we want. We want speed and quality. That's what we want. Thank you, Darren. And Conoco, Ryan?
Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate the opportunity to be here too, and you've assembled a great team. And our congratulations as well for removing one of the terrible people in the world and bringing them to justice. It was quite amazing. I think you've given hope to the people of Venezuela again, which I think is quite remarkable. And we've been on the other end of that despot regime a long time. Our assets were expropriated. I had a little bit more here when that happened.
Dice que fue bastante asombroso y que están esperando porque esto le ha dado una nueva vida a Venezuela, un nuevo tiempo. Durante mucho tiempo esperaron esto.
Energy commerce instead of conflict is something that could make a real big difference in Venezuela. And we
Alexander Rives dice, necesito ayuda económica, soy venezolano, yo y mi madre. Sé que muchas cosas van a mejorar en Venezuela a partir de ahora.
Discussions with your energy team about that as well. As we think about the other people that need to be in this room and in this discussion are the banks, and including probably the Exim Bank, as we think about how the debt needs to be restructured and the financing to deliver the billions of dollars that are required to restore their energy infrastructure. And I think as we think that big and bold, we need to be also thinking about even restructuring the entire Venezuelan energy system, including PDVSA. And I think if we can do that and think bold, there's an opportunity to be quick, fast, and restore the quality of what's happened in Venezuela, or what's been lost in Venezuela over the course of the last 25 years. So thank you for this opportunity.
Well, thank you very much, and you'll get a lot of your money back. We're gonna start with an even plate, though. We're not gonna look at what people lost in the past, because that was their fault. That was a different president. You're gonna make a lot of money, but we're not gonna go back. And you left a lot of money behind, I guess, huh? What number?
12 billion.
How much?
12 billion?
Well, good write-off.
It's already been written off.
It's been written. All right, thank you, Ruby. You'll make it back one way or the other. You're all gonna do very well. I think really very well. Marco just gave me a note. Go back to Chevron. They want to discuss something. Go ahead. I'm going back to Chevron, Marco. Thank you, Marco.
Was there a question, Mr. President?
Yes, go ahead, Marco. What are you saying here?
Mark, if you can update us on operations in the ground and with the appropriate approvals, what you might be able to achieve in the next 12 to 18 months, give us a little view from the ground.
You bet. So today Chevron has 3,000 employees in 4 different joint ventures in Venezuela today. And over the past 5 to 7 years, they've taken production from about 40,000 barrels a day to 240,000 barrels a day, essentially getting those facilities and that equipment up to standards that would be something that people in the room would be more accustomed to. Given the work we've done with Secretary Wright and Secretary Burgum and even Secretary Bessent, I think we have a path forward here very shortly to be able to increase our liftings from those joint ventures 100%, essentially effective immediately. We are also able to increase our production within our own disciplined investment schemes by about 50% just in the next 18 to 24 months, and that's just leveraging what's on the ground. So to Secretary Rubio's comments about phase 1, this is taking the momentum of improvements we've already made there locally and building on those and creating more momentum for the people of Venezuela.
Do you think you have an advantage being there? You've been there by the skin of your teeth. It's been tough for you to be there. But do you think you have an advantage over the other people in this room by the fact that you are there?
Yeah, I think there are, Mr. President, I think there would be days where it didn't feel like an advantage, and there are days where it does feel like an advantage. But having people on the ground today that care desperately about the people of Venezuela and know how to operate the assets that are there, that is a definite advantage today.
Would you say the best locations are available, or would you say the best locations are already sort of worked, even though they're in very bad shape? The best locations for finding oil, the best locations for oil.
There are more opportunities than not, Mr. President. With 300 billion barrels of reserves and resources in country, there are lots of opportunities for many companies.
Will you be building new, or will you be using the old infrastructure that you have?
Yeah, today it's a little bit of a mix, but today it's mostly us taking the equipment of today, getting it to the standards that we are accustomed to your comments about making it how it should be today. Most of the investments that we've been making are about getting it up to our
En
standards.
estos momentos están dialogando acerca de la ventaja que se tiene en Venezuela de tener personal que está queriendo sacarla adelante.
Give a lot to Venezuela and to the United States after that. Okay, so you'll be in good shape. Could I ask Carol Tam to say a few words? He's been a friend of mine for a long time. Very amazing man, actually, amazing energy person.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. It's good to be here with so many dignified people.
and his effort particularly. And thank you for your effort, for what you've done here, taking this despot out of that area. And the world dealt with him way too long.
Recordemos que esta es una reunión muy diplomática con todos los empresarios petroleros que tienen una intención de también avanzar, pero también ver a Venezuela salir adelante y poder invertir en este país.
Secretary Wright said, it has not been done. That's not been done in the past, and they had a good chance at it. Brought someone in that totally took it down, as everybody knows here, and that was Chavez, and we know what happened to him finally. But that ruined the industry in Venezuela, and all of us know how that happened, ended very well, very, very wrongly. So anyway, we're glad to see what's happened here, and look forward for the opportunity for a lot of people in this room, but also for America and the country itself.
Are you going to be involved in going in? Because, he's in North Dakota and he's in Oklahoma and some incredible places. It's a little bit different, but there's no doubt about you won't have to worry about the straw too much here. You can just go at it. Are you going to be one of the participants?
Well, certainly, I'm an oil finder, like you said. Barry Spitzer, told that story.
The coach.
He's kind of exaggerated a little bit. It doesn't come out quite that easily usually, but anyway, great story. I love it. But I love Barry.
Barry's the one that told me this.
Yeah, he's a champion, in a lot of ways. So love that story. Certainly, it excites me as an explorationist. Everybody has that in their blood, and it is a very exciting country and a lot of reserves. And so it's got its challenges, and the industry knows how to handle that. And like Darren said, you go in with your eyes open and do the best you can with the team you got. So
you're going to have something that they never had really here is tremendous security. You're going to be very secure, very safe, physically safe in addition to financially safe. So it's good to see you, Harold. Thank you very much. Does anybody have anything to say before we get to the press?
What does Cuba have to do to avoid the same fate as Venezuela? What does Cuba have to do?
Well, Cuba's in bad shape. Cuba relied on Venezuela for oil and for money. And nobody really knows what's going to happen with Cuba. They're doing very poorly. They're really third world all the way. And we have a lot of great Cuban Americans. And I would say Marco fits very solidly into that category. And I might ask you to say a few words about, we were discussing it before, Cuba is a very different, they don't have energy, they don't have oil, but they would live off of the oil from Venezuela. And what they do have is very strong people. And very powerful people militarily, and they would protect the people running Venezuela, and they would take in a lot of money from Venezuela. Now they don't have that. They won't be taking in any money. So, Marco, what do you think?
Well, the fundamental problem in Cuba is that it's run by incompetent people that don't know what an economy looks like, much less a functioning one. They've made a choice, and that is they would rather have political control over their people than they would to have an economy that functions. And they've gotten away with it for 60-something years because they've had donors, the Soviet Union, and now most recently Venezuela, but that's now gone. So the people in control in Cuba have a choice to make. They can either have a real country with a real economy where their people can prosper, or they can continue with their failing dictatorship that's going to lead to systemic and societal collapse. That's a very stark and dramatic choice, and it's one we hope to make the right one. We don't have an interest in a destabilized Cuba, but that would be their fault because they refuse to allow the people of Cuba to have either economic or political freedom for that matter.
And you have a lot of people in this country that want to go back to Cuba and help Cuba. A lot of people have left, they came in penniless, they didn't have anything, and they become very rich people in our country, and they want to very much go back and help Cuba. So that's something that Cuba has that a lot of other places don't have. Peter?
I do want to ask you about Minnesota, but first.
As a question for the
President Zelensky
journalists.
said that he was watching with the rest of the world as you made this order to go and capture Nicolas Maduro. And he said, if that's how it works with dictators, then the United States knows what to do next. Sounds like he wants you to go and capture Vladimir Putin. Would you ever order a mission to go and capture Vladimir Putin?
Well, I don't think it's going to be necessary. I think we're going to have I've always had a great relationship with him. I'm very disappointed. I settled 8 wars. I thought this would be in the middle of the pack or maybe one of the easier ones. And I don't know if you know, Peter, last month they lost 31,000 people, many of them Russian soldiers, and the Russian economy is doing poorly. I think we're going to end up getting it settled. I wish we could have done it quicker because a lot of people are dying, and mostly soldiers. You know, they get hit in Kiev and they get hit a little bit here and there, and people are dying there too. But largely, it's the soldier population. When you have 30,000, 31,000 soldiers dying in a period of a month, 27,000 the month before, 26,000 the month before that, that's bad stuff. So, as you know, President Biden gave $350 billion to Ukraine to fight, and we would never get that back, although I did make a rare earth deal to get it back, so we will be getting it back, but shouldn't have done that. It was a bad thing to do. I will say that right now, because I was able to get NATO to up GDP from 2% to 5%, NATO's got a lot of money, and they're paying for everything. We're not losing any money.
Bueno, ahora están hablando un poco acerca de todo lo que se ha vivido en la guerra, los soldados que han perdido, que les ha tocado perder en esta lucha, y que realmente es una situación que es bastante amplia y que ha pasado por mucho tiempo. También Marco Rubio hizo énfasis acerca de lo que podría pasar en Cuba y que ahora mismo ya no tienen quien ejerza poder en Cuba para llegar con el petróleo o para brindarles apoyo económico, lo que podría generar una crisis mayor, y dice que ellos mismos buscaron esta situación.
I watched that yesterday, and there are a lot of different forms to it. But there was a woman screaming, shame, 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 shame. She was a agitator, probably a paid agitator, but in my opinion, she was an agitator, a very high-level agitator, so professional. She wouldn't stop screaming. I said, this isn't a normal situation. This is a professional troublemaker. Because you heard it and I had it. Now, I will say this, the news sort of turned her down, turned her off. Because you're trying to watch, she was so loud and so crazy and just not normal. When somebody sees something like that, they don't go screaming and the same words. So, I guess you could say professional, but I didn't think she did a very good job. You have agitators, and we will always be protecting ICE, and we're always going to be protecting our Border Patrol and our law enforcement. Yeah.
In your conversations with these oil executives today, did you provide any security guarantees so that they can do their work safely in Venezuela? Yeah. And separately, Mr. President,
they will have those guarantees, yes.
And separately, Mr. President, I'm curious in terms of the future of Venezuela. Do you see Venezuela now led by Delcy Rodriguez as an ally of the U.S.? Is that the way that you view that country?
Well, right now they seem to be an ally, and I think it'll continue to be an ally, and we don't want to have Russia there. We don't want to have China there. And by the way, we don't want Russia or China going to Greenland, which if we don't take Greenland, you're going to have Russia or China as your next door neighbor. That's not going to happen.
Cuando ustedes escuchan ese ruido es porque los periodistas levantan la mano y todos quieren hablar.
Thank you. You just said that these companies would have security guarantees if they go in on the ground in Venezuela.
They will have.
And what is your plan there actually for these companies and those Americans who are going to be on the ground working for these companies?
¿Cuál es el plan que tiene para
I
trabajar?
assume they're going to be using a lot of Americans, but they're going to be using a lot of people from Venezuela and other places, I would imagine. But I would think that mostly they'll be using Venezuelan workers. They have a lot of great workers. They have a very high unemployment rate, and they have workers that are very familiar with taking oil out of the ground. Yeah.
How long do you think the Ayatollah will be in
Algo que
power?
notamos constantemente es esa disposición de Donald Trump de contestar las preguntas que hacen los medios de comunicación.
So in big trouble. It looks to me that the people are taking over certain cities that nobody thought were really possible just a few weeks ago. We're watching the situation very carefully. I've made the statement very strongly that if they start killing people like they have in the past, we will get involved. We'll be hitting them very hard where it hurts. And that doesn't mean boots on the ground, but it means hitting them very, very hard where it hurts. So we don't want that to happen. There have been cases like this where President Obama totally backed down. But this is something pretty incredible that's happening in Iran. It's an amazing thing to watch. They've done a bad job. They've treated their people very badly, and now they're being paid back. So let's see what happens. We're watching it. We're watching it very closely. Go ahead, please. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Do you have any comments in reaction to the recent attacks by the Syrian government alignment groups against US-backed Kurdish forces in Aleppo, Syria, which killed dozens of civilians and displacing many families? Does your administration bring peace between the Kurds and the Syrian government?
I want to see peace, yes, I do. The Kurds and the Syrian government, we get along with both, as you know very well. They have been natural enemies over the years, but we get along both, and we want to see Syria succeed. And so far, I think they are succeeding, but this is just breaking out, and we want to see that stopped. Go ahead, please.
Colombia, Gustavo Petro, in a few weeks. Do you hope this meeting with Gustavo Petro marks a new chapter, a new beginning in the benefit of the
Yes,
U.S. and Colombia relations?
What country?
Colombia, with the president of Colombia, Gustavo
Yes,
Petro.
I had a very good talk with him yesterday, and he's been very hostile to us and to the nation and to me, called me a dictator, and lots of other things. Called Biden some terrible names, far worse than he called me. But he called yesterday through people, and he wants to meet, and that's fine with me. I've made up with people also, you know. So we're going to have a meeting with him. We had a very good conversation. The people of Colombia are incredible people. Marco would know that better than anybody because he's married to a woman from Colombia. And I don't mean Columbia University. That would be, I'm not sure. I think I like Colombia, the country, better, if you want to know the truth. The people, hold it. The people are great people. I look forward to meeting with them. Going to meet in the very near future.
President of Venezuela here in the White House. Would you greet her to discuss the fate of the oil?
Yeah, well, I'm going to meet a lot of people, and we're going to meet, you know, we meet a lot of people.
Algo que vimos que exaltó fue que la esposa de Marco Rubio es colombiana y dijo que todas las mujeres son great people from Colombia. I'm from Colombia.
Dollars, thinking that $18 trillion coming into our country, a lot of that's coming in from foreign countries like Saudi Arabia and Qatar and UAE and others. And I get to meet a lot of people, but I will be meeting with various representatives of Venezuela, probably pretty soon. We haven't set that up. But the relationship that we have with the people that are currently running Venezuela is very good. We also have a young lady that received the Nobel Peace Prize. She's going to come in and pay her regards to our country, really, to me. But, you know, I'm a representative of the country, nothing else. And she's coming in sometime next week, I think Tuesday or Wednesday. And we'll see how that is. But no, we're dealing with the people from Venezuela. We're dealing with them very well. I think they've been very smart in the way they've dealt with us, frankly, because that whole place could have been obliterated with one more strike, and we didn't want to do that.
On Venezuela and your meeting with Michelle next week, if she gives you her Nobel Peace Prize, will that change
Sigue respondiendo las preguntas de cada uno de los medios de comunicación que están en vivo y en directo contándoles qué pasa con Venezuela. Saludos a todos los que se conectan de México, de Cuba, de Estados Unidos, de Colombia y de todas partes del mundo. Sigan nuestro canal y no olviden suscribirse a Bajume TV Latino. Yo soy Vanessa Díaz y estoy contigo para contarte las noticias desde cualquier parte del mundo.
I settled 8 wars, big ones. Some going on for 36 years, 32 years, 31 years, 28 years, 25 years. Some just getting ready to start, like India and Pakistan, where already 8 jets were shot out of the air. And I got it done in rapid order without nuclear weapons. I can't think of anybody in history that should get the Nobel Prize more than me, and I don't want to be bragging, but nobody else settled wars. Obama got
Thank
the
you
Nobel
for
Prize. He
love,
had no
for,
idea why. He
por los
still
corazoncitos
has
que
no idea.
envían,
He walks
gracias.
around, he says, I got the Nobel Prize. Why did he get a Nobel Prize? He got it almost immediately upon attaining office, and he didn't do anything, and he was a bad president. So, I mean, you should get the Nobel Prize for every war you stopped. Right? These were major wars. These were wars that nobody thought could be stopped. President Putin called me and he said about 2 of the wars that he's been trying to stop them for 10 years. He wasn't able to do it. He couldn't believe it. So in theory, you should get the Nobel Prize for every war you stopped. Every one of them was major. But I don't care about that. What I care about is saving lives. I've saved tens of millions. You know, the Prime Minister of Pakistan said he said that President Trump saved minimum 10 million lives having to do with Pakistan and India, and that was going to be raging. So, you know, but I'm honored that she's coming here. I look forward to meeting you. Go ahead.
The state officials there have said that the FBI is not sharing evidence with them. Typically, they would conduct an investigation, as you know. Do you believe that the FBI should be sharing evidence with state officials in Minnesota?
Well, normally I would, but they're crooked officials. I mean, Minneapolis and Minnesota, what a beautiful place, but it's being destroyed. It's got an incompetent governor, fool. I mean, he's a stupid person. And it looks like the number could be $19 billion stolen from a lot of people, but largely people from Somalia. They buy their vote. They vote in a group. They buy their vote. They sell more Mercedes Benzes in that area than almost. Can you imagine? You come home with no money, and then shortly thereafter you're driving a Mercedes Benz. The whole thing is ridiculous. So they're very corrupt people. It's a very corrupt state. I feel that I won Minnesota. I think I won it all 3
Bueno,
times.
está Alberto diciendo, ve por los políticos corruptos de México. Ryan,
I won it all
what
3 times, in my opinion.
No, what
And it's a corrupt state, a
I
corrupt voting state.
Spanish
And
chat
the
line.
Republicans ought to get
Yes.
smart and demand
Could
on
you
voter
speak
ID.
Spanish, please?
They
No
ought to
problem.
demand maybe same-day voting and all of the other things that you have to have to safe election. But I won Minnesota 3 times and I didn't get credit for it. I did so well in that state every time. The people were crying every time after. That's a crooked state. California is a crooked state. Many crooked states. We have a very, very dishonest voting system. The last time I won, 24, the one that just took place, I won because it was too big to rig. You couldn't rig it, it was too big. But I won the state of Minnesota. It's a corrupt voting system with an incompetent governor, a very incompetent governor. And by the way, he's a very corrupt governor too. Go ahead.
I have a question on Iran, but first, very quickly on Venezuela. How do you provide total security guarantees to these companies without putting U.S. boots on the ground?
Well, we're going to work with the Venezuelan leaders and people, and we're going to have a very safe group. And they're going to also bring over some security with them. You know, these are not babies. These are people that drill oil in some pretty rough places. I can say a couple of those places make Venezuela look like a picnic. These people around the table, these are tough people. They go into areas that you wouldn't want to go. They go into areas that if they invited me, I'd say, no, thanks. I'll see you back in Palm Beach. No, this is a tough group of people. They know how to do it. But we are, in addition to that, we'll have very good security for them. We're going to make sure there's very, very good security. And I think the people of Venezuela are going to give you very good security. You know, the people, now I'm not talking even leadership, the people of Venezuela are going wild over this. They named a street after President Trump. What do? You attack a country and they name a street? That's never happened before. Although I heard that's also taking place in Iran. They named a street. The protesters. I just hope, you know, just God bless them. I just hope the protesters in Iran are going to be safe because it's a very dangerous place right now. And again, I tell the Iranian leaders, you better not start shooting because we'll start shooting too. With your glasses, sir, go ahead, please. Hold it. Next to you. Yes, glasses. The gentleman with the glasses.
All right, thank you, Mr. President.
With those very big glasses, actually.
Yeah, Ferrari, actually. Mr. President, I have 2 questions. What do you want the European Union to do in Ukraine. The European leaders seem pretty divided on Ukraine. And then if you can reiterate this straight message that you have to the Iranian leader, to Khomeini, the message that you have.
You're talking about Iran.
Oh, Iran, yeah.
What
The
do I
first one
want
is on
Iran
Europe.
to do?
I'm sorry.
Where are you from?
Italy.
Oh, nice place.
Yeah.
Okay.
The first question.
So what are you asking about Iran for?
Well, if you can answer about Europe and what you think the Europeans should do on Ukraine, and then a message.
Well, look, Europe has been doing so much for Ukraine, but it hasn't been enough. And obviously that I would say that President Putin is not afraid of Europe. He's afraid of the United States of America, is led by me. There's no fear of Europe. You know, Europe's fallen behind, and Europe, and JD said it very strongly. I don't know, took a lot of heat, but I didn't get many heat. Europe is a different place. Europe is changing. Europe has got to get its act together. I love Europe. I guess I came from Europe, essentially. I have my roots are in Europe, but Europe is a different place. They have to get their act together. Now they've said they have a great NATO leader, and they've gone up to 5% from 2% GDP. That's a big step. But they have to be very careful with their immigration policy, and they have to be very, because, you know, I will just say, to be nice, that there are certain places in Europe that are very important that are no longer recognizable. I'm being very nice. I'm being very diplomatic when I say that they are not recognizable. And they have to be careful on energy, because they're putting windmills all over the place and losing a fortune. They're destroying their country. They're destroying the beautiful landscapes, the beautiful everything. They're doing, and by the way, in case you people don't know, I'm not much of a windmill person. I can proudly say, Doug, that we have not approved one windmill since I've been in office, and we're going to keep it that way. My goal is to not let any windmill be built. They're losers. They lose money. They destroy your landscape. They kill your birds. They're all made in China. And all you have to do is, you know, just about all of the windmills are made in China, the structures. All you have to do is say to China, how many windmill areas do you have in China? So far, they're not able to find any. They use coal and they use oil and gas and some nuclear, not much, but they don't have windmills. They make them and sell them to suckers like Europe and suckers like the United States before. They are the worst form of energy, the most expensive form of energy, and in 8 years, they're rotted out anyway. Go take a look at Palm Springs, California, and take a look at what that looks like. It looks like a junkyard of steel. So we don't approve, and I've told my people, we will not approve windmills. Maybe we get forced to do something because some stupid person in the Biden administration agreed to do something years ago. We will not approve any windmills in this country.
Habló acerca de Europa, acerca de Ucrania, y está diciendo que Europa tiene que ponerse las pilas, que están haciendo muchas cosas, pero que tienen que ponerse las pilas con las políticas migratorias, porque han soltado el país y han dejado que mucha gente haga de todo en Europa.
I have a policy question, President Trump, but I'm having a hard time seeing here. I see the American flag lapel pin. What is the other lapel pin?
Somebody gave me this. You know what that is? That's called a happy Trump. And considering the fact that I'm never happy, I'm never satisfied. I will never be satisfied until we make America great again, but we're getting pretty close, I'll tell you what. This is called a happy Trump. Somebody gave it to me. I put it on.
Thank you. And the policy question. How much money are you thinking of giving people in Greenland to get them on board with a possible U.S.
I'm not talking about money for Greenland yet. I might talk about that. But right now, we are going to do something on Greenland, whether they like it or not, because if we don't do it, Russia or China will take over Greenland, and we're not going to have Russia or China as a neighbor. Okay? I would like to make a deal, you know, the easy way, but if we don't do it the easy way, we're going to do it the hard way.
Muchos están preocupados porque Donald Trump quiere Groenlandia, pero no han tenido en cuenta que Groenlandia está más cerca de los Estados Unidos y que Rusia y China también quieren hacer parte de este negocio.
I'm sure we had lots of boats go there also, but we need that because if you take a look outside of Greenland right now, There are Russian destroyers, there are Chinese destroyers and bigger. There are Russian submarines all over the place. We're not going to have Russia or China occupy Greenland, and that's what they're going to do if we don't. So we're going to be doing something with Greenland, either the nice way or the more difficult way. Please, go ahead, Bill.
Mr. President, why is it so important to you to own it when you have a military presence there, which you could expand to affect security?
Because when we own it, we defend it. You don't defend leases the same way. You have to own it. And, you know, with a nation, look at what happened with Obama, with that horrible deal they made with Iran. It was a short-term deal. It was like a 9-year deal. Countries can't make 9-year deals or even 100-year deals. Countries have to have ownership. And you defend ownership, you don't defend leases. And we'll have to defend Greenland. If we don't do it, China or Russia will. Not going to happen. We are not going to have, and I like China, I like Russia, I love the people of China, I love the people of Russia. I get along very well with President Putin, but I'm very disappointed in him. I get along very well with President Xi. I'm going to go over to China in April, but I don't want them as a neighbor in Greenland. Not going to happen. And by the way, and NATO's got to understand that. I'm all for NATO. I saved NATO. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have a NATO right now. But we're not going to allow Russia or China to occupy Greenland, and that's what's going to happen if we don't. Go ahead.
Mr. President, one, can you respond to that? And two,
Yeah, it was an amazing report. The most amazing thing is government jobs are way down, and yet the unemployment or the employment numbers are very good. We've gotten rid of tremendous numbers of federal government jobs. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And yet the employment numbers are very good. They're really getting better. But now we have all those people to work in the private sector for a lot more money. I think that's one of the very big things. The other thing is at 5.4%. And remember, this is after we had a shutdown. And that shutdown had an impact because the concept of the shutdown, even though it's before, people knew we were going to be shutting down. A lot of bad things happened. And by the way, on January 30th, you may have another shutdown. We'll see what happens. But I think the numbers, Caitlin, were really amazing. Look, to think about 5.4%, nobody thought that. They thought it was going to be 2%. And you know what it is? It's tariffs. And it's also November 5th. We had a great election, a great election. Our country was dead 1.5 years ago. And now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. And I hope you guys were impressed. 5.4%, and we haven't even really transitioned yet. There's no reason it can't be much, much higher than that.